Welcome to Mountaineer Football Tonight, the weekly coaches show for Kings Mountain High School, brought to you by KMHS Sports and the Kings Mountain Touchdown Club.
Good evening, fans. Welcome to Mountaineer Football Tonight. Thanks for joining us. We've got a great show in store for you. Drew Fulton behind the controls. Craig Short here as your host. Coach Herron to my right. We'll get to him in just a moment to talk about the big win last week over North Gaston. What we'll do now is, like we always do, we'll start with a sponsor break. And from there, we'll go to a highlight video. And after the highlights, we're about to talk about the game last week and get Coach Herron's input on the big win. Be back in just a few minutes. Enjoy the highlights.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home, Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
Welcome back from the highlights. Coach, welcome. Good to see you again.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. 2 big wins last week. JV and varsity. It's
Yes.
always a good thing when you win 2 games in the week.
Both of them were shutouts.
Yes, sir. How about that? I like that. Good to be back at home too on that.
Oh, man.
On that Friday night. It seemed like forever
It did.
before we had gotten back.
It did. It felt good to be back.
And we were talking off air about the new jerseys, and I'm not going to say the color because I unleashed a firestorm on Facebook, not meaning to, but they look sharp. We're talking about how good they look. Those were. I didn't ask you this part. Did you pick those out? Did you design those?
I was going to say that Coach Lloyd did that before he left. So
Really?
We got to give all the credit to Coach Lloyd.
Okay, well there you go. I thought maybe you had gotten them.
No, when I got here, Coach Lloyd said, "Hey, you got new gold uniforms coming, but they won't be here till almost the end of the summer." He said, "But they're coming." So and he took me back and showed me all the uniforms.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So it's pretty nice. It was a nice surprise for the players too.
Oh yes, I like that a lot. I mean, they look really really good.
Coach Lloyd obviously has some good taste.
Oh my gosh. Oh well, let's not blow his head up more than it needs to be. So, Coach, we knew going into the game, and we talked about this last week. The offense they run. I mean, the way I wrote it on my paper here for my notes is I just wrote the word odd. It's just an odd offense. I know that it's. I mean, it had some remnants of, I don't even really know what it's kind of a hodgepodge, but it was. Based on what you told us you were going to do and how you're going to play it, I thought we played well against what they gave us.
Yeah, and the bottom line is when you play teams like that have an offense that you're not used to lining up against, and you have to kind of scheme them. You got to think of ways that you can stop what they do. But the main thing is you got to win up front, and so they just they couldn't handle our front 7 guys, and we brought it all night long. So it was great to see. That's not a fun offense to play against, and that's why some teams run it.
Yeah.
But our guys did a really, really good job.
Did you feel like, and we'll talk about the takeaways in a minute, but did you feel like the defense executed the game plan you wanted them to do?
Yeah, Coach Carroll was really happy. We had a few things in coverage. We gave up a few passes that, when you're playing against a team that doesn't throw it very much, you focus all your time on stopping the run, and so all week long you're not really working against the pass. And next thing you know, there's quarterback's falling backwards. He's just throwing it up in the air, and our DB's just isn't there to make a play by inches. It baffles you because you're like, that shouldn't happen, but it just kind of does. I've been in that situation before.
Well, I want to ask too, Coach, because you saw it on film. It looked to us up top on the broadcast that on a few of the passes that they caught, they pushed off.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a little bit of separation. Is that what it looked like on film?
And on a couple of them, yes, and you know how it is.
I know.
If you're winning the game by a lot, referees
Sometimes they officiate the score.
Yeah,
I know.
But it is what it is. You got to go out there and make a play. And just play hard and hope that the chips fall the right way in some instances. So, we were pleased with the way we played. I thought our secondary could have been a little bit better, but it was just a week. They're thinking about stopping the run, and we got called on. They were throwing a double pass, and as soon as the running back got the ball, I mean, Curtis and them were taking him to the ground, and then there's a flag down the field. And, and I had to ask him. I was like, I'm not sure, but and how I don't know. I'm not sure how you, the official, knew that it was a double pass. I don't know what told you that, but as a defensive guy, you don't have a choice. You got a guy running straight at you, and the receiver's in your face. You got to go attack that receiver and get in position to stop the run. Mm-hmm. If he hits the receiver, and then we ought to run that play every down.
Right.
Everybody ought to be running the same thing. So anyway, I wasn't disappointed with the officiating though. I thought they did a good job.
I think they did under the circumstances, but there was one. I mean, I thought there was a couple of those they could have called, but whatever. But I didn't understand. I did question a little bit the running into the kicker, and here's why. When they switched punters out and the ball came back on the ground and he got it and picked it up and took a few steps like he was running, to me, that's classified as a runner.
Yep.
And when he's a runner,
they changed the rule.
Did they?
They have changed that rule. I had that called on me another place I was at, and they was like, no. They told me, said, Coach, it doesn't matter. We always protect the punter even if he is running. But my question was, I thought we tipped the ball.
Right.
I thought somebody got their hand on the ball, and that's what I was questioning. And the official he's like, if they did, I didn't see it. So
at least he told you.
At least Well, that was great. That was the thing about it is that the officials did a great job coming and explaining and talking to me. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I thought the defense played well. They smothered them. Offense executed well.
Yep.
I thought that, obviously, we'll talk about Robert in a minute because there's more to say. I thought Zolo running, QB1 managed well. I thought he, there were a few balls down on the other end where he threw some missiles down through there where he threw his people. He put a little bit too much mustard on it, but I thought overall we executed well. We ran the ball extremely well, which speaks. We spoke a lot on the broadcast about our OL getting out front and lead blocks and getting downfield, and of course Robert ran really well.
And that was exactly how I was going to start. Our offensive line played really, really well, and we actually, on our list of players of the week that we do, not for the show but for ourselves, one of the offensive player is Dom Davis. He had a great game at guard, but across the board, our offensive line did a tremendous job blocking, and then of course, Robert did the rest. So, but you got to look at those front five guys and the H back, Nash and Isaiah Banks. Both of them stepped in the H position, and they basically controlled the front the whole time. Yeah,
Nash blocked. The offensive line in general blocked well. We spoke about a few of them. Dom's name came up. Alex. Spikes, they all played well. And Nash even caught a pass across the middle, and did a couple things in the passing game. It looked like what Coach Bolton was calling was working pretty well. We were clicking along pretty good. I know you're glad to get a win. I know you're glad to get 2 wins, and definitely get 2 shutouts. That's a big deal too.
It is a big deal. And then that's tonight. We people need to know that. Coach Carroll started a tradition years and years and years ago. If you pitch shutout defensively, we're going to feed you pizza and wings. And so tonight we decided we had to feed defense pizza and wings again, which is okay. I'll feed them that every week if I have to. But we added the offense and everybody else this week. We fed the whole team pizza and wings because we said, hey, our offense has scored over 80 points in 2 games. That's deserving of something. So
absolutely.
We just finished having a pig out up there in the auxiliary room. You can imagine what that was like.
Yes, we talked about that off air. I said I know they're not going to turn down any free food.
No.
God bless them all. And I know exactly how that went. And I'm sure the long snapper will talk all about how good the food was once he gets home and tells his mom and dad. Yeah. So, Coach, let's do what we always do. And tell me, coming out of the game, what were your 3 big takeaways out of the game?
Well, again, it starts with defense. Just not only our defense. You have to understand when you come in, it's a new system. You're trying to teach them. You're trying to get them to buy in and believe in what you're doing. It was a good process, but it was kind of a slow process. But you can see every week that the guys are really starting to take to what we're doing, and they understand that Coach Carroll he coaches at a high level, and I think that they understand that they're being coached on a very high level, and they have to take the time to understand it and then go out and play really, really hard. So first takeaway is just another step for our defense. I thought was really, really good. I guess the next takeaway is, I love playing at home here. The fan base was incredible. I don't really, when I get into the game, when the game starts, and I can just tone everything out. But there was a couple of times during the game, and I turned around and just kind of looked up, and it's just fun to see people doing what our fans do, and so that's a takeaway from the game. I mean, that's something that I know that our kids enjoy, and honestly, and we know because of the games that we go, away games that we go to, everybody, all kids, they don't get to play in front of a group like that, in front of a crowd like that. So that's my number 2 takeaway. I want to play at home as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And then the last takeaway is, is just our players, the players, the way that the players have seemed to kind of gel together a little more over the last couple of weeks. They just seem to, and I think a lot of that is just because they're figuring out what to do. Everybody's understanding. Like, I don't know if the technical term is that I'm OCD or whatever it is, but I have an itinerary for pregame warm up that's down to the minute. It's like, hey, be here at 2:32, be here at whatever time it is. And I think they just feel more comfortable. So now they're getting into the groove of what we're doing, and so hopefully that's going to carry over. And you're asking about three things about the game. I've said one thing about our defense, and the other 2 things were off the field.
Sure.
But those are huge things that go along with being an elite football team. That's what we're trying to get to, is being an elite football team. So yeah, those are good stuff. Of course, you could talk about Rob Kendrick. That was definitely a big takeaway, and I don't even have to say anything. A guy that rushes for that many yards is big. But there's more to it than just that. But our players are the reason why we're here, and our players are the ones that are getting it done. And that's the biggest takeaway of all.
Well, we've talked about, several times on here through the weeks, we've talked about the standard that you all demand of them. First you demanded of yourselves, and then you demanded of them as a team. And I think that, like you're saying, they're beginning to figure it out. They're not only beginning to figure out what your standard is, but they're also beginning to figure out what they need to do, at least is what it appears like, that they need to do to try to get to where you want them to be.
Right.
And that, we talk about it being a buy-in or acceptance or whatever it is, but I agree with you. And it's like all things, it comes with time, but you can see it in the execution even as a fan or watching. And like I told you at the Hunter Husk game, and I saw it again Friday too, but I saw it first at the Hunter Husk game where they looked like they were pulling for one another a little more, they were gelling a little more, they were doing what they were doing a little better. And I agree with you. I think it's coming together.
Yeah, and that's the plan. And we know that. I did a radio interview the other day and was talking to these guys, and it was just a morning of after some things had happened and so forth. And right now I'm reevaluating where we are. I talk a lot about leadership and the leadership class and so forth and so on. And I made a mistake. I came into this thing thinking of, all the stuff that we had done at my previous job at South Point. We had done, and it was an 8-year process. And I thought, I'm gonna walk into Kings Mountain, and we're gonna start at Kings Mountain where I left off at South Point. But I had to remind myself that it took baby steps to get to the point to where we could really start getting into leadership. And so I'm dropping back and punting and reevaluating where we are, and I think it's going to be good for everybody, because we're going to start with some baby steps and continue to try to build this thing up.
You have to. You always have to reassess.
Yes.
And you have to self-evaluate in anything you do, and if you don't, it builds complacency.
Right.
And I agree with that. So I think there's nothing wrong with that. And the team, the coaches, I think will respond well to that, because they see that, it's a constant movement to try to get better.
Right.
And you're looking at every angle to get better.
That's right.
I like that.
That's right.
Well, Coach, that's 2 big wins, 2 big shutouts over the North Gaston Wildcats. Varsity was here in front of a great big crowd. JV was on the road, of course. And we're excited to have that now the second win in a conference under our belt. So it's a great start to being back home after about a month away. So what we'll do is we'll take a break, and we'll come back after that break and talk about this week's game against Forest View. Be back in just a few minutes.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
Back here with Coach Herron. Coach, we've got the Forest View Jaguars coming in this week. Another conference game, of course. Talk to us first what we're going to see from them offensively.
Well, they remind me a lot of a little bit of Hunter Huss. They're going to spread the field, but they can be in a one-back set and spread all over the place. But then, they've got some plays where they're in old, like 1980s pro I formation and running ISO and sweep and those kind of plays at you, just like the old school stuff. So they're going to do a little bit of everything. There's no telling against us. I think. It's like I was saying with last week's game, when you play a team with a lot of speed, sometimes it's best just to line up and come straight at them. So, it's always a guess. I mean, hey, we could walk into that game and they could be in the wishbone for all we know. But from what we've seen on video, they've got a good quarterback that is mobile. He can make plays, and then they've got a running back that can go, and so. Those are the type things that we've got to stop. It kind of reminds you, like I said, a lot like Hunter Huss. So they're pretty good team. We got to win. We got to win the battle in the trenches, and make sure we're covering our gaps. We got all of our gaps covered, and we should be okay. But we got to go play them.
I'll tell you, I know, Coach. It's two things I'll say about you. Maybe think of the wishbone. I'll say something in a second, but. Coach Medlin is a good friend of ours, and he has a good offensive mind, really good coach, been there a long time. So it does not surprise me that you're telling me that he's given several different looks and different formations and running different things. That's his MO, so that makes it difficult to scout.
Yeah.
I will tell you a little bit of a quick funny story. There was a guy who used to work here. He was the defensive coordinator here for a while, named Tony Lay. We called him Catfish. And he was our coordinator when we were coaching together. He wasn't here. We were getting ready to play a team, and we'd scouted them. We were getting ready, and that team really didn't have a lot to lose. And we were pretty decent. And he said, boys, I just got a feeling. And I don't know where this came from. He said, boys, I just got a feeling they're going to run the wishbone this week. And we're like, Catfish, you were crazy. They have not. He said, boys, I don't know what it is. Nobody's told me anything. He said, they're going to come out, and they're going to line up in the wishbone. They're going to run a triple option. And I had come from working for Mike Carter up in Mooresville years ago, who was a triple option guru. He's in the Hall of Fame in North Carolina. And I said, there is no way they put that in a week.
Yeah.
He said, all week long, all the way through Thursday. And sure enough, we get out there on Friday night, and lo and behold, they line up in the wishbone, and they ran the option sub. So you're right. I mean, they could do some things we're not ready for.
And that's what good coaches do, man. They're going to adjust and figure out ways to put themselves in the best position.
Yeah. So defensively, what kind of scheme are they running for against you, or looking like?
What we've seen is they're in a 50 front, and so and they play a lot of man coverage, and that's what I just talking with Coach Bolton, our offensive staff. I said, hey man, if I was playing us, if I was defending us, I'd put 9 in the box. So I'm gonna do whatever I have to do not to allow you to run the football, and I'm gonna make you throw it. You're gonna have to take the snap. You're gonna have to drop back. You're gonna have to throw it, and you're gonna have to complete it. That's what I'm gonna make you do. And so I would imagine we're gonna see that. We're gonna see just an old 50 front type defense, and they're gonna make us have to complete passes. So that's what we got to do.
How up front on that defensive side, and then maybe an offensive side. I mean, decent size.
Yeah,
they're pretty athletic.
They're not small. They're decent sized players, and like I said, in video it's hard to tell some things, but I don't think they're as speedy as we are. But they get after it. They're going to play hard.
Yeah.
So we have to take advantage of what we can based on what we see out of what they do.
What kind of challenges do you think they pose for you this week?
Like I said, I think the biggest challenge from an offensive standpoint is loading the box and not allowing us to run the football the way we want to, just running the gap schemes and down blocks in the pools and that kind of stuff. I think that's going to be our biggest concern. We've got to figure out a way to get people out of the box to help us in the run game, and so we've got to be able to do that. And then offensively, I think the big thing is is not giving up the big play.
Right.
We're going to have to be consistent against the run game, but then not give up any dumb play over top of us.
Yeah.
So those would be, I think, the keys for us.
Yeah. Players to watch for them?
Well, their quarterback and running back are in our opinion, their best players. They've got a couple of really good defensive backs that we feel like they can match up with our guys and run. We're not completely sure who they're going to match up with.
Yeah.
And so that's another key to what we're trying to figure out and what we'll be setting our offensive scheme off of. But that's what we got to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before we go off this game, Coach, I had it for later, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it now. And you and I talked a little bit about this off air. How do we look health-wise going into this week?
Well, we keep getting people hurt, and I'm not sure. I don't know what we're doing, but we've got about 8 down right now, and several ankle injuries. We got a shoulder injury, but hopefully he's going to be able to play and go and make it the whole game. We've got 2 broken hands that they can't. They've got casts to the point where the doctors aren't going to allow them to play. So we've got some health issues right now, and we got to be able to put other people that's the way I've always coached. Man, that's next man up.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to have guys who can just step in there and have been coached up and be ready to play.
Yeah.
So. But right now, health-wise, we've got some work to do.
Yeah, well, and hopefully we'll get there, and maybe these games, well, I would say I don't want to take anybody lightly, but maybe we can heal up pretty quick to get ready for the long haul, even beyond here in this week, and getting ready for the playoffs. So hopefully that'll come to be. So I know you guys do a good job taking good care of them, and our sports medicine staff does too, to try to get them ready and back on the field. So we'll be watching for that as well.
Right.
So Forest View this week at home. Tomorrow night the JV will go down there. We'll talk about that in just a minute with things coming up for the Mountaineers this week. We will get another sponsor break, and when we come back, we will do our Players of the Week. Be right back.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
All right, we're back. Drew's behind the counter. I'm going to tell on him. Not the counter. That's not a counter. That's a desk and a computer. Drew's over there trying to talk to Coach about his eligibility. I said he's got at least 1 play left in him. And he says he's got more than 1, but I'm going to say no, just 1. And that's if it's right off of halftime and it's the first play from scrimmage, and then we're good. Me too. I'm going to talk about myself there too, Drew. All right, enough about us. Let's go. Gutter Guys Player of the Week, Coach. We're going to do like we do each week and recognize 3 young men, at least 3 young men. You may have a couple for one. Let's do the Gutter Guys Offensive Player of the Week.
All right, the Offensive Player of the Week, I think, is hands down. If anybody was at the game, they would see this. It was Robert Kendrick, number 0. He had 21 carries for 196 yards, which is about 9.3 yards per carry.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
And then add 4 touchdowns to that. So big, huge breakout game. That's what we've been talking about as a staff is having that guy who can break out and go. We've got some good running backs. We got a slew of good running backs, and but we haven't been able to get loose and make a big run. And Robert did a great job with that and got us at a couple times.
Excellent. So congratulations to Robert Kendrick. being the Gutter Guys Offensive Player of the Week. Coach, who are we going with on defense?
Defense was Antonio Armstrong. He had a great game. Remember, we talked about production points. He had 83 production points, which was the highest on the team. This is a tough week to get production points because all you're doing is trying to get tackles. But and he did not lead our team in tackles. Jason Melton had, I think he had 19 tackles total. Antonio had 11 tackles, 5 solos and 6 assists. He had a quarterback pressure, 2 third down stops, which is big for us, and 1 fourth down stop. But he also had an interception, and if you didn't, a lot of people probably didn't notice it, but they had heard us throwing the ball a little bit, and Coach Carroll just made an adjustment, just like back in the old days at the other school. We had an adjustment on our defense called Stallion Head Up, where we would take a linebacker and put him out on their best receiver and just get in his face, bump him off the line of scrimmage, and then we'd have a defensive back behind him. And Coach Carroll just out of the blue stand on the sideline said, "Hey, Antonio, come out here and get in front of this guy." So it's kind of that old scheme. Put the defensive back behind him. Sure enough, they snapped the ball through it, and Antonio picked it off. So, Coach Carroll, he's just got a knack for all that. So, but Antonio did a great job. He had an interception. He also had 4 tackles for loss.
Like you said, Jason played well. Eli played well again. Yeah. Eli with a scoop and score. He's got 2 defensive touchdowns 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. That's right.
So good to buy him extra pizza and chicken wings.
I tried. I think I gave him a few extra.
I bet you did, and I wouldn't blame you for it. All right, Coach, let's go with our so congratulations to Antonio Armstrong being the Gutter Guys, the Defensive Player of the Week. And Coach, who you have on special teams?
Special teams is a guy that kind of came on to us late, is Matt Rom. Mm-hmm. He is our new kickoff guy. So now we've got Matt doing the kickoffs, and we've got Max Thompson doing the field goal, PATs, and punts. So, but what impressed me about Matt, obviously this was really his second game of actually getting out there and kicking. He had a 59-yard average, which is good. If you got a 60-yard average, you're kicking them all into the end zone. But he kicked 7 times. 4 of them were touchbacks, but 1 of them came after a 15-yard penalty on us. So he had a touchback that went 75 yards.
Yes, he did. He boomed that one.
So Matt's going to be a great attribute if we can just get him out there and get him a little bit more practice time. He's going to help us a bunch. But Matt had a great game as soon as he settled in the other night. He kicked it really well.
He did. I thought he helped us quite a bit.
75-yard touchback's pretty good.
Yes, it is. I remember when he kicked that one, and we watched it in the air, and I'm thinking, that thing's going all the way to the end zone. It sure did. Yeah, he boomed it. So Matt Rom is our Gutter Guys Special Teams Player of the Week. That's excellent. So, Coach, our segment now, we go to the Ask the Coach. We've put it out to our fans. I've even given them my personal email address.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I know it could be dangerous. I've given them that. Well, hang on, Drew. Look, see what I did on the show. I knocked my microphone off.
You killing me.
I know. Sorry, Drew. Told them they could send us questions for you. You heard us say that last week. They want to email it. And I got a question from one of our biggest fans, Michael Crocker. He and his mother is an avid Mountaineer fan. She watches every single week. And Michael usually, if he can't come, he's usually watching our broadcast and talks to me via social media a lot. And he's a great artist. He's just a great guy. And his question this week I thought was a good one. He said, what is, and I put quotes around it, what's the X factor, in your opinion, to having a successful season?
The X factor for us is the culture of our team. Mm-hmm. And, everybody has their own X factor, I guess. But, this is what I continue to talk about is our biggest opponent is ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right now, our biggest opponent is our own team. And we've got to continue to buy into what the coaches are trying to coach the players to do. We've got to buy into doing things the right way. And I have a lot of faith, and I believe that good things happen to good people. I tell them that all the time. So if you're working hard, you're playing hard, you're doing it the right way, good things are going to happen. Sure. And I believe we're getting better. We had a little incident that I think is actually going to help us in the long run, but we're going to have a couple of suspended players this week that people might not notice, but there will be they'll see it at the very beginning. But I had both the players in my office. We talked about it, and my question to them was, man, how would you punish yourselves? I mean, what would you do in this situation? And they said, things like, hey, we need to shake hands, we need to apologize, we need to apologize to the team, and then if there's any extra running that the coaches want to give us, we just need to do it and be done with it. And I said, I've been in this situation before. That's not how I handle it. And since y'all have decided not to be a player-led team, but you want to be a coach-led team, then I'm the coach, so I'm going to decide. And here's what we're going to do: we're going to suspend you have suspended playing time in the game Friday night. And what was great is that they looked at me and instead of pouting, instead of sucking their teeth, rolling their eyes, or getting mad, or saying something, they both just sat there and said, "Yeah, that'll probably work." And I was, all right,
of course it will.
That's what we're going to do. Yeah. And so it sends a message to the rest of the team, and that's the way it's going to work from here on out. And so that's what we've got to do. That's the X factor. We've got to get better as a team.
I like that.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw, Coach, I don't know where it was. I don't know what team it was, but it was Friday night. A guy, it was a pick six, or it might have been a busted run. He took off, and he's running, and he gets loose, and right before he crosses the goal line, he tossed the ball.
I've seen it 100 times.
All right, so what the video, it was really kind of funny. It was like something like, this happened at the game, and it shows that and said, this was the next practice, and it was showing the kid, he was cutting. They were making him do like front barrel rolls,
right?
Because he had done it his way, and he was just going right down the whole field. And the point of that was, yeah, go ahead and showboat, and you're going to pay for it the next day.
You get the showboat.
Yeah, show on right on out of here, showboat. But I mean, we do laugh about those things sometimes and kind of make with them. But you have to establish that, and they have to know where their limitations are, right? Because you and I both know we're teaching young men and young women when they're playing sports for us more about life than we are anything else. And there's a standard,
that's right,
and holding them to it, and the accountability that we can put on them, and in times like this, is going to benefit them out in the world.
That's it. That's what we're trying to do. It's football isn't going to last forever, but they'll have other things that they're going to have to do afterwards,
right?
And we want to, me and my coaching staff, we want to send them out with the right frame of mind. Yes. I've said this forever. We can't help them all. We can't save them all, but we're going to give them every opportunity to do it the way it should be done.
Right. I saw another quote from a coach, and he gave the stat. He said, whatever, it's a very small percentage, 6% or whatever of these young men will become college football players.
Right.
But 100% of them will become adults.
That's right.
And will be over a family or working a job. And he was like, it's our responsibility, like you just said, our responsibility to try to make them better men.
That's it.
And that's the goal. And I thought that was, I'd never really thought about it that way, but it's absolutely true.
Yes.
Because they are all going to be men.
Right.
And I can tell you, from my standpoint in my life, I didn't have a father growing up, and a lot of these young men don't. A lot of guys I've coached over the years don't. The coaches are that role model of how a man is supposed to be.
Right.
And it's a big deal. So I agree. It's a heavy burden sometimes, but it's one that's needed. And I firmly believe the Lord puts us in positions like that, these positions to coach and to serve, because it's more than about football a lot of times.
It's 100% more than
yes,
football.
Sir.
Football is just a catalyst to try to get through. And, so like we say it all the time. Coach Wallace used to say all the time is coaching football is a mission. It's a mission there. That's just what you want to do is get through their head what it takes to be the type of man that this country needs, that this society needs, and that's all we want to do.
Sure.
That's all we want to do.
Well, Coach, I love it. And that's a good question by Michael. Michael, thank you for the question. Hope you fans will send us some more in the coming weeks. Drew will continue to put that on our Facebook page. My address is there, or you can send it back on the Facebook page, and we'll ask Coach some questions that you guys have and go from there. So, Coach, good show, good synopsis. Forest View this week at home, JV tomorrow night down there, way down Union Road, God bless them, at Joe Alala Stadium. You'll see what I'm talking about when you get there. Good luck, and let's go get 2 more wins.
Yes, sir. I'm ready. I can't wait to be back on the turf in our place. It's a great experience.
I'm looking forward to you walking behind the press box. I see what you're wearing because I know you're going to surprise us again. So that's always fun. Coach, we appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck this week.
Yes, sir.
We'll take a sponsor break. We're back in just a moment.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by HB Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,
Want to thank you tonight for being with us and looking at the show and watching, and always are happy to have our fans with us each week, and so glad we can bring you this show. We are going to talk really quick before we close out. We're going to talk about some things coming up this week with the Kings Mountain Mountaineer athletic programs. Men's soccer today is playing at 7, so just after we finish, if you're close to Belmont, head on down. They are playing at 7, playing the Red Raiders. Tomorrow, the 28th, volleyball will be at home hosting Ashbrook. Our JV volleyball team will play at 4:30. Our varsity will play at 6, so I hope those young ladies get 2 big victories tomorrow. Women's tennis is at home tomorrow versus Stuart Kramer at 4:30. Also hope that tennis team brings home the victory. And the JV football team is traveling to Forest View. That kickoff is at 7 p.m. down at Joe Alala Stadium there at Forest View. On Friday the 29th, of course, we host the Forest View Jaguars at 7:30. Please get here early and reserve your seat and be here to cheer on the Mountaineers. On Monday the 2nd, women's golf will be at Riverbend. Tea time is at 2 o'clock. Volleyball will host Cox Mill Monday at 4:30 for the JV and 6 p.m. for the varsity. Men's soccer is at home on Monday versus the Crest Chargers at 6. And hey, Drew's birthday is all day. He will be 29 on Monday. It's awful. I mean, that's a little bit of a plug for yourself when you're typing up the thing for the week and you're putting your own birthday on there. Self-promotion is horrible here in this program. Oh my gosh. Happy birthday, Drew. I'll be sure to remember that on Monday because you only turned 29 once. And Tuesday, October 3rd, twice he said. Tuesday, October 3rd, women's tennis is at Ashbrook at 4:30. Volleyball is home versus Hunter Huss. That is the week of Mountaineer athletics coming up for between now and next Tuesday. Hope you can get out there and support the Mountaineers. As we say each week, folks, we hope that you will like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is a big deal for us because we love being able to bring you all the shows each week, the broadcast of the football games. We enjoy having them. We have a good time doing it, but we also love just talking about the team and promoting what they do on Friday nights and promoting all things Mountaineer. Also, while we're there, I love to always talk about the Touchdown Club and what they do for us. I was telling you Friday night on the game at the broadcast, remember, they are all things Mountaineer, and they support all things Mountaineer. Please take the time to join the Touchdown Club and support them. And if you know someone that's in it or you're in there yourself, first of all, thank you for being a member. And if you know someone who is in and thinking about joining, we want to welcome you and hope you'll get yourself in and bring some other folks too. Because I told you Friday, you may not know, they also help support our middle school program. So when I say, I know those are the KM Middle School Patriots, but when we talk about all things Mountaineer, we're talking literally all things Mountaineer. Those young people from over there on the hill coming up here to play at Kings Mountain and be a student at Kings Mountain, be a band member, a chorus member, all the things they're involved in coming from the middle school, the KM Touchdown Club supports them as well. And we want to thank them for all that they say and do. Come to the game Friday, of course. I said it a second ago. I'm sure, Drew, we've got, yeah, there it is. The Ticket Spigot link is still up. You can purchase those on Ticket Spigot. But not till Friday. Thank you for telling me that, Drew. That was a question last week. The link will come up on Friday. You can also purchase tickets at the gate. I want to say, hey, real quick, I was coming in Friday to the broadcast, going up to the booth. We had a ton of people waiting to get in early. That was an awesome sight. You can buy tickets at the gate. Remember the new parking areas. If you're going to drop someone off, That has to be done in front of the school, right there at the main entrance. The road between the visitor and home side is still closed. You must have a parking pass to park on the home side, and gates will open at 6. The YouTube broadcast will kick off at 6:45. Game time is 7:30. And I'll say real quick too, if you still want to buy a parking pass and/or reserve seats, you can do that in the front office during normal school hours. They are still for sale. Want to give a quick shout out to Coach Black, one of my main men down there at Blacksburg. He is watching, or will watch this in a little bit. Love you, Coach Black. I told you I'd give you a shout out. There you go. Folks, fans, we appreciate you. Appreciate you watching, and hope you were here Friday night, and maybe next week we're talking about a big win over the Forest View Jaguars. Hope you have a great rest of your week. See you Friday. It's a good day to be a Mountaineer. Have a wonderful week. Be blessed.
Mountaineer Football Tonight is sponsored by H.B. Jones Appraisals, John Gamble and Carolina Golf, the Kings Mountain Family YMCA, Harris Funeral Home,